So the make versus buy decision. So this is one decision your company should always consider whenever you're purchasing or strategic sourcing. Because if you're a manufacturer yourself, can you make this item? You might save money by doing it. But then again, it might cost you money to do it. So how do we make this decision? Well, there's a process, as there is for everything else. So here, it starts off with is it item or service strategically important to the organization? So if it's not, outsource it. Consider outsourcing it. If it is strategically important, is our organization good at it? If it's yes, don't consider outsourcing it because we're good at it. We don't need anybody else to do it for us. If we're not good at it, does our organization have assets to dedicate to improving the process? So are we taking our ability, which is currently not good, to make it good? Do we have the ability to do that? Do we have the assets to do that? So if yes, well, let's go ahead and improve, then evaluate outsourcing. And if no, well, can a supplier do it better than our organization? So if a supplier can do it better than us, yes, consider outsourcing. If not, do not outsource because we'll get lower quality. Reconsider improving the process. So this is where we can continue to do Kaizen and other process improvements, do the DMAIC process to get this process, get whatever process that we're trying to figure out if we want to do a make versus buy to up to the level that we need it to be. So some key takeaways here. Don't outsource strategic activities. Don't do it. Don't outsource activities that you do better than your suppliers. Why? Because you do it better than your suppliers. You don't want junk given to you because your supplier did it when you can do it better. So don't do it. And consider outsourcing when a supplier does something better than you do. If they do it better than you do, why spend the money? Outsource it. Or at least consider it, because you might be able to improve your process and now your quality might be better. So we have to figure these things out. But yeah, so that's the make versus buy decision. That's really what it comes down to. Do we make it in-house or do we outsource it? And this was a flow chart on how to make that decision, but really, are we good at it? Yes or no? Can we become good at it? Yes or no? If we can't get good at it, outsource it. Simple, right? So what about the total cost of ownership? Well, we have a lot of options when it comes to total cost of ownership. When we look at everything, here's two examples. If we outsource it or we keep it in-house. So if we're making 1 million units per year, well, we have processing labor of $100,000, variable plant costs of $50,000, materials $320,000, and fixed overhead of $120,000. So that means it's going to be $590,000 per year. Divide that by 1 million and you get 59 cents a unit. Right? So if we outsource it, well, we don't have any processing labor in-house anymore. We don't have any variable plant costs, and we don't have a material cost. However, we still have our fixed cost, which is our overhead of $120,000. Well, what if we did outsource it? Well, the example here gives us our pricing. So the part is going to cost us 42 cents to have made outside. And then we're going to have it plated. So we have to transport it to a plater. We got to put it in a package. So it's going to cost a penny to put it in packaging to send it to the plater. So it's going to cost a nickel to transport it to the plater. It's going to cost a nickel to come back from the plater for transportation. It's going to be inspected, received, and put away for 1.5 pennies. So our total cost, if we outsource it, is actually 54.5 cents. 54.5. So, but we still have the $120,000 a year when it comes to our fixed overhead costs. Well, 59 cents a unit if we kept it in-house was including the fixed overhead. Now I'm looking at this and I'm seeing if we did 1 million units, so we have 59 cents versus 54.5 cents, but that 54.5 doesn't take into account the $120,000. So we'd have to add essentially 12 cents per unit onto the outsourced ones. So that would bring it up to 66.5 cents to outsource. So just looking at the numbers, I would say no to outsourcing in this example. I hope you followed on that. Because even though it was outsourced and it's cheaper per unit, we still have our fixed overhead cost. So it's actually cheaper to keep it in-house. I know it doesn't show it on the screen, but it's 12 cents a unit on the first chart, middle column, cost per unit. It's 12 cents per unit for the fixed overhead. So we would have to add 12 cents to that 54.5. But this is a total cost of ownership analysis. We actually break down the costs. And then we see how much per unit. I'm sure you've probably done this in maybe your cost accounting class. But next we have a sensitivity analysis. So we're asking what if questions here. So what if our volume goes up or down significantly? So think of our product that we're manufacturing increases, or the demand increases a lot or goes down significantly. Well, when we're looking at everything else, how sensitive are our numbers? Are we barely making a profit at our forecasted numbers? So if our volume goes down significantly, are we starting to get a loss? So what if we can use a plating space for something else that doesn't have to have the other operations absorb $120,000 of overhead? So this is referring to the previous total cost of ownership analysis. So that $120,000, can that amount be spread onto some other operation? Maybe some other operation can account for that cost, which will then make that outsourcing actually feasible. And then what additional risk does outsourcing create? We're outsourcing it to a firm, and we want to make sure that they produce the quality that we want. All right, so we have basically two scenarios that can happen if we use the sensitivity analysis. So standard buys, we want to use our total landed cost analysis. This is everything it costs to put it onto your receiving dock. So this is the purchase price, shipping, handling, anything else that goes into it to put it on your receiving dock. And then we have for capital acquisition, we have to capture the present value of life cycle costs. Now this is not an accounting class, so we're not getting into present value, all that. But life cycle costs are all the costs for the life of whatever equipment it is. So think of it that way, the total cost of the equipment. So how can you as a purchaser make a difference? Well, we can use that profit leverage effect. where we are taking a look at our profit and seeing how can we leverage it? How can we make that money work for us? Make it work more efficiently. Well, one way is actually spending it more wisely. So like I said, a dollar saved is a dollar directly to the bottom line. But sometimes we need to spend money to make money. So that's kind of a conflict, but purchasing can make that happen. In our organizational scope, how far does our company want to go? What's our plan? Are we focused on what our plan is? What our strategic goals are? Are we trying to be everything, or are we trying to be specialized in one certain area? Social responsibility. This comes down to your company's strategic goals. Do you have a goal to purchase from veterans or the disabled or women-owned organizations? Is there a percentage of purchases that you want to have with these organizations, these companies? Or are you trying to make sure that what you're purchasing is responsibly sourced? Like, for example, you're sourcing wood products, and you want to make sure that for every wood product you buy, the wood comes from a forest that has trees being planted to replace the trees that are cut down. What exactly does your company define as social responsibility? And then building the team. You got to make sure your team has the right people. If you don't have the right people, management needs to take a look and see how can they get the right people on the team. This might mean moving people around. This might mean getting rid of people. This might mean adding people. Whatever needs to be done, you have to build the team, and the team needs to work well together. So this was topic 11. And I hope that you realize that purchasing and strategic sourcing are not difficult, and that you do it every day. You might not see it as how I described it, but you do little aspects of this every day. And I hope you have a good day and you think of some of these things when you go out and make purchases. Think about it. Is this a strategic item or a critical item? Is it a bottleneck, a leverage, or just a routine buy? Only you can answer those questions for your purchases. So we'll see you in the next topic.